Welcome guys, so before I begin, I'll just give you guys a simple overview. So inside Blender I've made a simple bird mesh, just a simple shape. If I go to solid, you guys can see it's a simple shape, and I made two planes on either side, and I unwrapped it to the wings texture, and I've subdivided it a few times so the animation looks a little more smooth than just having a plain wing. And then I am using a 3-bone armature, and which I have parented this to them, so when I move this, the wings start to flap, which is really useful in animating it. And then down here, I'm using it for frames, so it's just a simple wing movement along the frames. And then inside Unreal Engine, I imported this, and here, first of all, as you guys can see, this is the basic animation, so I'm just using a white color, nothing too complex at all. So this is the basic animation, and then I have made a blueprint actor class where I have put multiple of these birds together. Now you guys can add randomness to how the wings are flapped, but you guys will have to do separate animations for those. And then down here I am playing the same animation for all of the skeletal meshes that I have down here, which obviously is looping, so it's constantly playing, and it starts when the game starts, when the event begin play. And I also have a sound that plays along with it. So if down here in my scene, if I click simulate, you guys can see that the wings start flapping, and then I am using a matinee, so a movement matinee, to get the birds to move from one side to the other while the wings are still flapping. So it's very simple, nothing too complex. There's not much coding or anything involved. It's very simple. So we'll start off in Blender. So inside Blender, first thing I'll do is I've turned on screencast so you guys can see anything I press down here. So I'll just select everything using A and delete. Then I'll go into my scenes tab, and I'll change the units to metric and the value to 0.01 to simply match the scale of Unreal Engine. And then the clip distance, as you guys can see, this area is being clipped out. I'll change this to 1 kilometer so we have a huge area to work in and there's no more clipping. Now I'll just press 1 on the number pad to go to front view and 5 to go to orthographic view. I'll add a simple plane. I'll press R, X and 90. So I've rotated it 90 degrees on the X axis. I just type 90. And I'll scale this on the Z axis, so S and Z. I can press N to make this toolbar go away. I'll make a new tab by dragging this to the left, and press T to make this side go away. I'll go to UV image editor, press tab on here to go to edit mode, and unwrap. U and then unwrap. Now I'll go to open, and I'll find... Now I have a wing texture. This doesn't belong to me, but it should be okay for anyone to use, because I found this on the public domain, so it comes with GIMP. It's kind of an add-on for GIMP. Anyways, I'll just bring this in. Down here I'll go to texture mode so I can see exactly what's happening. So now this will be my right wing. So I'll also attach this texture in. You guys can find it in the description. So I'll just scale on the y-axis first. So scale down, press G and Y to go down. Just want to make sure this wing comes in nicely. And then I'll do S and X, and then scale on the X-axis. And once I'm happy with how the wing looks, let's have a look. Yeah, this looks fine. I'll just move this wing to this side. I'll move it down, and I'll make sure the center point, so making sure my 3D cursor is right there. I'll just make the center point right here. So Control Shift Alt C, origin to 3D cursor. And then I'll do Shift D, so make a duplicate of this, and then R, if I'm correct, Z 180. No, that's not correct, so maybe R, Y 180. RX 180. Now I'll just manually rotate this around. So yeah, so now once I have done this, I'll press tab on this. I'll press G and Y and take this up to the other wing, and then G and X to grab on the X-axis. GY just a little lower. And I can rotate this as well, so rotate this around so the wing is actually facing the right way as well. Alright, this is just fine. Now I can press tab, make this go down a little, and I'll control shift C again, so the origin is right in the middle. So already, if you guys look here, we have a nice looking wing texture. So now I'll press this wing, I'll press Control and 1 to subdivide this. Then I'll also press Control 1. Actually, I'll do Control 2 on each of them. So what this does is that this just adds a subdivision surface, so the wing animation looks a lot nicer. So I'll go to my modifier tab and I'll click apply, so this subdivision is now applied to this. I'll also change the shading to smooth for both of these. Now I can close this, so just drag it to the right. When you see the arrow, just let go. So now what I'll do is I'll actually leave the wings I'll actually move the wings out of the way just a little bit. And in front view, I'll just add a simple plane mesh and then RX90, rotating on the x-axis. Now we'll just model a simple mesh for the body of the bird. So now I just added a edge loop in the middle, so Control R and then left click to put that line in there. Now I'll select these two vertices. I'm using C and left clicking, then right click to deselect. I'll delete these two vertices, so I only have one side. Now I'll go into the modifier tab, which is this icon right here, and I'll add a mirror modifier. So anything we do on one side will automatically be applied onto the other. If I can find the mirror modifier, that would be quite helpful. There we go. That took a long time, but eventually we got there. I'll just change this back to solid. Now what I'll do is I'll add quite a few edge loops in here, and I'll try to make a rough bird shape. So of course we want to start off with the I'm not going to make this too complex at all. I'm just trying to get the idea across on how you guys can, use Blender and Unreal Engine to get your bird shapes working, or whatever it is. You guys can add nice curves, you guys can follow up these lines. So if I shift click both of these, I can take this up as well, drag this in. I can add more edge loops here if I want to. About here should do. Just select this, move it to the right a little bit, and then I can take this up about here, and after this I can start bringing the shape down, so just to give it a rough head shape. And then I can bring this edge loop inside as well. So right now I'm also making the neck right here. Take this more in, not this one, just this. Alright, so now we have a simple bird shape. So the mouth is done and the beak is also done, and the neck is around here. So now I'll add another edge loop about here and make this go up to represent the kind of like the body of the bird. Make this go up, it looks slightly nicer. So you guys can take your time how long you want, but I'm just trying to keep it quite simple. Alright, I'll take this up as well. And then right down here I'll just try to make a simple wing shape. So not this one, I'll select that one. So just a simple wing shape, there we go. So our basic bird shape is ready. So now what I'll do is I'll right click on this bird shape and I'll go to modifier. I'll add a solidify modifier. I'll increase the thickness so the bird can be seen from, from the sides as well, so it's not just doesn't just become invisible. I'll change the shading to smooth for all of these. Actually, I'll change the shading to smooth. That's fine. Now our simple bird shape is ready. So now I'll go back to texture mode so I can see my wings. I'll press 1. I'll move the left wing in. About here should do, and I'll move the right wing in. About here should also do as well. And I'll just move this back a little bit so the wings actually, around here should be fine. So now we have our basic. You can also, if you guys want, you can also subdivide this. It's not necessary. Of course, apply your solidifier first and anything you want, but I'm not going to add any subdivision to this. Okay, so now we've done the basic modeling and we'll move on to the animation. Alright, so now before we can start working on our animation, we need to have a basic armature. So we need to tell the system how the bone should move or how everything should move anyway. So we'll get rid of any modifiers that we have here. So let's click apply on the mirror modifier. I'll select this and I'll select the two wings and I'll press Ctrl J to join them together. And I'll just do Ctrl Shift Alt C so the origin is in the middle. Now once I have done that, I'll press 1 to go to the front view, of course. I'll change the shading to solid, go Shift A, and I'll go to Armature and I'll add a single bone right in the middle. I'll bring this bone down here, so along about the middle. I'll press Tab and I'll E to extrude for the left wing, for the right wing. Then I'll select this again, right click, and I'll extrude on the left wing as well. So just about the same length, and I'll of course go back to texture mode and make sure it's covering my wings and it's not actually, you know, going outside them. So around here should do just fine. Now I'll press Tab and I'll go Shift A. I'll add 2 empty spheres. So this first sphere I'll move down to about here, so near the right bone, the end of the right bone, and I'll call this so perhaps just so I know what this is, so right wing. I'll also name the other things. Also this plane can be called bird. Then I'll Shift D and I'll just drag this across to the other one, and I'll move this bone down as well. So Tab and I'll just move this down to roughly match the same as done here. When I'll press Tab, I'll select this, and this one I will name left wing. Now we have these two. I'll go to Shift A, I'll add another empty cube. I'll move this right in front of the bird, just move this straight up, make it smaller. Now I'll select this and shift click this and then shift click this and then do Ctrl P and then object keep transform. Now if I have done this correctly, if I just select the cube and move this up and down, these move with it. So now I'll just press Shift Z to move it back to where it was. And now what I'll do is I'll select the bird first and then I'll select the armature. Once you've done that, I'll do Ctrl P. And then object with automatic weights. So once I've done that, it's alright. Now if I go back to tab, perhaps if I go into pose mode, can see if it's roughly, yeah, it's kind of working. So you guys can see that now the bone actually affects our mesh as well. So I'll just do Ctrl Z, I'll press tab to get out of edit mode, just go to object mode. And once I have done this, I'll select my bone. So I'll go into pose mode first, and I'll go into bone constraints, and I'll add a inverse kinematic on the right bone, and this I will link to the, so the target is, this is the right wing, so I'll do right wing, then, and of course the chain length should be 1, then I'll select the left one, and I will also use the same option, and I'll do the left wing and the chain length to 1. Now I can press tab, go back to object mode, and now let's try and move our cube. Now if we move our cube, the wings start to flap. Well, you guys can see this weird thing going on with the bird body, and I'll tell you guys why that is. So now we need to go back to our bone. We'll go into pose mode, and we'll select one of the bones, click back on the body, and go to weight paint. As you guys can see, this bone is actually affecting all of this area as well. Now we don't want that, we want this bone to only affect the wing down here. So I'll go to subtract in the weight paints, and I'll increase the strength perhaps because it's not working that well. So I'll just remove all this, so the bone only affects the wing and not the actual body. I'll take this off and let's see. So now once I've done that, I'll select the other bone. So the I go to so the right bone, and then I can remove all this as well. Just left click and drag until you are happy with the result. So now, hopefully, after having done this, I'll just try the last one as well to see. Yeah, this looks fine. So now I'll press tab. I'll just going to select the bone and go into quickly object mode, and then I'll select the armature. And in the pose mode, now if I just select this or just this cube, if I move this, you guys can see that now, although there is some more, there's some deform still, I suppose, in the body, or perhaps there isn't. Yeah, there is some, but the wings are working slightly better now. So it's just about getting the right, just trying to get it right, which can be hard at times. Go back to weight paint. As you guys can see, this was causing the head to move, so there was just some left up here. I'll also take just a little more away from the wing area. Just trying to make sure there's none left here. Of course I can't see behind the bones, but just roughly getting rid of just gonna make this go a little bit away as well. Alright, now once I've done this, and now if I go back to my bone, and if I try to, if I select this, if I try to move this, you can see there's a lot less being deformed now, so it looks slightly better. But I'm not going to work too much on this because now this is just a flock that's going to be moving by, so I don't have to focus too much on it. It's not something that's going to be too close to the camera. So I'm just going to leave it like this now, and now I will work on the animation. Just a simple bird flapping animation for this. So for the animation, generally you can use different options down here, which are quite helpful, but I don't think I need to go into animation specifically for this. So I'll just stay down here, and for the animation, you have your time frame down here. So I'll do about maybe 40 frames maximum, so starts at maybe, let's say it starts at 0 and goes up to 40 frames. So at 1 frame I want to, if I press 1, and if I press 3, so at 1 frame I want the wings to be about here, I suppose, or I can press 7 perhaps, and this should be quite useful as well. So I want the wings to start from down here at frame 1, so I'll press I and do location. So now at frame 1 our wings are like this, and at about 10 frames, let's say, I'll move the wings up, so exactly in the opposite direction, about here should do, and I'll do I and location. So now we have to start off we have a wing movement up and down, or down and up, whichever way you guys look at it, and then at 1 and then 10 and then at 20 I will move them down again, so about here, and then I and location. So now we have a simple bird movement. I think I have really messed my weight paints up. As you guys can see, this wing is being distorted quite a bit. But yeah, so I'll change this to 20 now. I don't think I need any more frames, and if I just click play, you guys can see that I have a basic animation of the wing moving, and this issue you guys see here is simply to do with the weight paints, I believe. So that can be sorted out. It's not too much of a problem, but we have done our animation, and I'll just sort out the weight paints for this. So if I go back to weight paint, then perhaps to add a little more to make sure this does affect this area and this bone as well. Alright, if I go back to object mode, and if I do the animation, Alright, so here we go. So this looks slightly better than it was before. So once you're happy with the result, once you've worked at it quite a bit, now animation can take some time to perfect, which I'm not gonna spend too much longer on this anymore, but you guys can spend as long as you want. So once you're happy with this, now we can start to export this as an FBX. So to export this, we'll go to File, Export, FBX, and there are a few settings that we want to make sure we change. So first of all, in the version, we'll change this to 6.1 from 7.4, and we'll click Armature first, and then we'll shift click Mesh. So these are the two we want, and then we'll change the forward. Now I'm not sure, but I know that the forward in Unreal Engine is different from Blender. So I think it's something like -y forward. So we'll just change this to -y forward, and hopefully it all works out inside Unreal Engine. Okay, so once you've done this, you want to find a place to put your bird. So I'll just call it bird, and I'll put it in my bird vlog tutorial folder. And once you've done that, we'll head over to Unreal Engine. So inside Unreal Engine, what we have to do now is we'll go into import, and we'll import our bird animations, or whatever you guys have named them. So and you of course, so first of all I'll bring this in, and there are a few settings, so you guys want to make sure you have them checked. So first of all, of course, you want the skeletal mesh and the mesh, and then make sure you have to use TOA's reference pose selected, as this will overcome any issues you might have with the scaling of your bird, because I had a lot of issues, so I found out that this sorts out those issues. So you'll click import, and now if I open the bird animation, you guys can see that the bird is down here. You can't really see the wings right now because they need to have a material on them. If I slow down the speed a bit, because my camera is going crazy all over the place, as you guys can see the wings from the sides. Anyways, what I'll do is, now I'll go to import, and I'll import the two textures. So I have a normal map and a wing map, so I'll open this. You guys can find this in the description of the video. So I'll create a material out of this, and I'll drag in the normal map as well. So if I move this to the side and just drag in the normal map, now I'll connect this opacity mask. So this does have a transparent background, it's a PNG file. I'll connect this normal to normal, and I'll change this to masked and two-sided, and I'll give it a pure white color. So I'll just add a scalar parameter, just press 1, and this should be a pure white color. And now we have some really nice looking wings. Now I'll save this and minimize, and I'll open up the bird, and down here I'll just drag this into the second one, I believe, which should be the wings, and I'll make another material. It's always good to make material instances anyway. So I'll just open this up, I'll press V and left click to add a vector parameter, and I'll choose a white color, okay, and just save. And now after I have made my materials, I'll drag the wing material to the wings, and the simple material down to the second one. So now if we maximize this, we have our bird right here. It's not the best, but it should work for our purposes. Now if we go to animation, double click this, we have our animation playing. So now I'll make a simple go to right click blueprint act class, and I'll just call this bird vlog. And inside here, what I'll do is I can actually, if I go to, I can literally just drag in a bird. So here's the first bird. Now you can make as many copies of this as you want. For this I'll just do, so just Control C, Control V, and just like drag this around here. Control C, Control V, drag it around here. So So now I'll just do just some 3 birds for now, just to show you guys. You guys can do as many as you want, or have different animations playing if you make different in Blender or Maya or any software that you guys use. Now I'll go to the event graph. I'll do event begin play, and inside here we'll start off with an event begin play. Now I'll drag out the 3 birds that I have out there, 3 skeletal meshes. Drag out a node here, and I'll type animation, and then play animation. I'll connect this to event begin play. I'll collect my target birds to this animation. So if you guys have done more than one animation, and let's say you want all you guys can do, you can just copy paste this, and you guys can choose the separate animations here. But I at the current moment only have one animation, so I'll just do bird animation, and I'll turn looping on. So it's nothing too complicated. You guys can play around with advanced settings if you guys want to, but for this video I'll keep this very simple to show you the basic process. Okay, once you've done this event begin play, now I'll compile this. You guys can also add a sound, just like play sound perhaps. So play sound attached to right location down here, and I'll choose the I do have a seagull sound, so yeah, so seagull sounds, but I already have the sound attached, so the sound will play anyway, so I don't want the sound to be playing twice. Now if I click save, and I already dragged out the blueprint right here, so now if I click play on this, you guys can see that the birds actually is gone below the water. Just drag this up. Just can see the sound is playing and the birds are flapping their wings. If you guys did want to make a simple movement matinee for this, so how you guys would go about doing that is, you go to cinematics, add matinee, and it uses frames as well, so I'll just do a quick one to show you guys how this works. Won't spend too much on this at all. So make sure your birds are selected in the scene first of all, then right click here, add new empty group. I just call this bird, and right click on this, add new movement track. So add 0 seconds, your birds are here, and you can drag this line, and at 1 second, if I press enter, we want our birds to be, let's say, down about here. So now if I go back, birds are there, adds 1 second, birds are here, and of course you can press G to go into game mode. As you can see, if I press G, you guys can see all my things down here. So now if I play this, you guys can see that my birds move from one direction to the other. And you guys can also add a director group if you guys wanted this to be your main camera, so director group, but that's not needed right now, so I'll just close the matinee now, and I'll go back to, I'll open my level blueprint, so blueprints, open level blueprint. Now I'll take this away and at event begin play, so I'll select this matinee actor right here, if I can approach it, which is below the water, and I'll right click in here and I'll do play. So the matinee actor should play when the game starts. So now if I go to minimize and if I simulate, you guys can see that our birds move from point A to point B, and the second you have between the two inside the matinee will determine how fast or how slow your birds move. You guys can also do curves, you guys can do all cool stuff, make behaviors or whatever. So this is a basic way, a very basic bird vlog, and a basic way of how you guys can go about doing this. So I hope you guys found this somewhat useful, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.